our new family members to the team, our division. If you're new and have not had an opportunity to be introduced in this wonderful setting and occasion before, could you please stand up, whether you're new just hired this month or within this past several months this semester? Do we have anyone? Oh, we got it. Yay! Okay, so what we want to tell us your name, the department you currently work in, and where you worked before you come and join our team.
My name is Justine Furr. I'm the new admin support for the Center for Adult Learners and Veterans. And I originally started as a student, SA, temp, full-time employee, and full-time student still. So that's what I do.
All right, thanks for that warm welcome and big hand. And it sounds like there's a legacy of leadership, student to employment to full-time. This morning, I'm going to give you an update. Jesse, I'm ready for it. If you can pull it up, and I'll grab it. One of the things I promised the division since April 1st was that I'll keep you updated how we progress and how we go along. And I want to start off like I normally do, give credit to where credit is due. Big thank you to Micheal for keeping us on track and with our year-end spending. And as a leader, transparently, I want to show everyone where you know what we do. And we spend quite a bit each year at the end to cover our software and the services and programs that we have within the division. And I want to make sure you see that and you're in the loop on how we progress through that. And thank you again for all the services that you do. And to Michelle Hawkins, thank you for keeping us on track and putting it together. One of the most interesting things about it was, besides, you'll hear about it in the weeks to come, from the software that we use to, whether it's the after-hour calls to OrgSync that will turn into Wood Connect that Chris Geiger's team is really excited about, and Emily and Kenneth that in the next few weeks you'll continually learn about as that platform for engagement and work experience will continually transform. But the other notable things is from Building 9, in which the prior year we've invested $295,000, and then this year it was an additional $31,000 that was needed to keep that project under review and going. What I'm learning is that the entire campus, for buildings that are available for renovation space, you probably hear from Dr. Jenks in the upcoming conversations that they're doing a fitness test for our spaces. And so there's some exciting pieces from not only Building 9, but other buildings and renovations. I was at the board meeting just, I think yesterday or the day before, and it was approved that Watson Hall will eventually come down demolished. Anyone know where that's at? It's right next door to Aycock, is that correct, for our business connection in the room? So a lot of things going on at the University of West Georgia and our campus, and I can't say enough. I'm really excited about the Health Center building. I saw their sign has been up now for several months where it says Student Health Center. And if you hadn't had a chance to tour inside it yet, please do. A lot of great work is going into that. Angie Bradley and Dr. Hine and her whole team. It's beautiful in there, and it's a wonderful facility. I thought I'd start off and get to the point. Thank you for being a part of the best. I don't know if you had a chance to see the article that came out about 3 weeks ago, but really, it mentioned West Georgia again, that we, for 6 years in a row, has been amongst top schools, ranked as one of the most promising places to work in student affairs. Now, the list is apple order, but except for one thing, I put University of West Georgia at the top. And I say that because I want to make a note of that. What's really neat is for really all of us in the room, I think it acknowledges the good work that you do. What I mean by that is we don't need any other institutions to validate us, but it does says a lot about you, from Ohio State to Virginia Tech, that West Georgia's on that list as well. And I always joke about this, but there used to be a school, Florida State, on the list, and they're not anymore. And I have to put joke because we may, never know what happened. But the point is, things change over time, and we're one of the only two that's remained amongst those top schools for 6 years in a row in the nation. Why do I think that happens? Well, I go immediately to our values. I go immediately to what you do, and I think we're definitely a division that's caring, and we collaborate, and we are committed to growth and development. Well, how do I know that? I work with you. I get a chance to talk with you. And when the external groups came down for the rankings for most promising places in student affairs, one of the things they told me personally, and also Dr. Lingo, was that our commitment to growth and development of employees and even our graduate assistants really sets us apart. And this gives me a moment to thank, literally, Dr. Adams, who will be working with the College Student Affairs Group, with Cassie Nelson, who spent a lot of time working with that group last year in the interview weekend, and the committee members. In fact, Cassie, can I have the committee members stand up that served on your team? Do you mind? Anyone on the committee for that, or is it just Cassidy all about? Okay, Cassidy. Cassidy, can you stand up then? Sorry for that pressure. There you go. Take all that in. And now, from what I can brag on, is that University of West Georgia, we have extended our commitment to growth and development. As part of that process, we have included not only the professional development for graduate assistants, $300 from a division, $300 department, $600 total overall to go to conferences and to invest in their intellectual curiosity about our profession. But travel reimbursement, even coming to the interview weekend, has been included as part of our division to either be put into the yearly professional development or individually. So that's another development that the university continues to do to invest in growing leaders. And thank you so much, team, for all of that. Part of our conversation this morning is the rollout. And I'll just sum it up by telling you what we know about Engage West. It's this continually ongoing self-review, feedback, conversation about what matters to you, our division, our university, our campus, and hearing how can we continually improve what we do. And I want to highlight those things to you. What we know about the survey is that if you get a 3 or higher, 3.5, that's good. And then you bump close to the 4, that's excellent. 4 or above is excellent. And I think we'll talk a little bit about that today, but I wanted to show you, get right to the point. What did you say? I want to give thanks to the proper credit that's due, Miss Alicia Welch. I hope that she's here. Let's give her a hand for putting together this information. If there's anything you're learning to be as a leader, I don't just sit here and say, I, it's team. And Alicia put all this information, she synthesized all the comments that came through from our whole division and highlighted some of the things that consistently said. And this work-life balance, collaboration, department leadership, climate, the Engage West piece, those are things that we think that we're doing well. And preparing students, I can't talk enough about academic, Center for Academic Success and advising. In fact, and they're building on our strength and Register. There's some updates about them today that they've really been carrying a strong load for preparing students and helping progress to graduation. Overall, for our division, like the university, you'll see we did take a little step back on some of the report. Some of the high floors, we slid a little bit here. But for the most part, we still are doing pretty good. Above the 3.0, above the 3.5, about a 3.8 on the average. But with the most notable one, the lowest scores that came back to our feedback through the process, it's been consistent for us. Hey, the university has to continually work together with you and improve our pay across the board. We've done 2 separate studies, and we have worked with individual departments and have tried to move the increment on pay increases. And for everyone, we've taken a look at the merits and continually work with the university to improve the merits. But the most consistent feedback we get is we can do more. We got to do more. And to recruit and retain our best employees, this is concerned. Also, go back to the lowest. Communication, the whole university, that continually shows up as a low mark that we need to communicate better as leaders to our campus community. And then also climate. We always got to watch how we're engaging and how the atmosphere, as we interact with others that are differently than us, is impacted. So what's a little different this year, some of our higher scores, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we've improved a little bit for leadership. And what's been consistently over time is departmental immediate supervision leadership. Our division has always hired great leaders. Y'all have commented about that in the Engage West feedback. That showed up again. On the institutional one, it went a little bit. I give all credit to Dr. Jennifer Jordan. Hiring her has really kind of moved that needle for us on the institutional leader, the AVP marks before, and then also Dr. Adams. She just started in her role. Well, there you go. What would I describe as momentum? The things that you pretty much just saw me go over. The positive things, if we drill down to it, you can see some of the question items. You guys are still confident in our direction and success for UWG. And that's notable because we have had a presidential change. And so we do have to keep that in mind. I can tell you that I've had a chance to meet one-on-one with our interim president, Dr. Crafton, and I've been very impressed, very thankful, very pleased. He thinks of our division and our campus community in high marks, and very confident in the great work that we've been doing. The growth areas, I still want to note that and make you know that I wasn't skipping over that. The pay and work-life balance, those are areas we can continually improve. And we drill down to staffing levels in units may need some growth there. We had in the greater town hall that came up, I think Justin, I think the team talked about the quandary and just the continuous inquiry of the work-life balance and meeting the demand. And Justin, I know I'm going to butcher it a little bit. I'll come back to you at the end and try. We can clean it up a bit. But really staying attuned to supporting our employees when the demand is high and balancing that also with the staffing levels and the duties that are spread out. And we know we took a look at that with the comprehensive administrative review called spans and layers, but we need to continue to pay attention to that, and the feedback is good for us. So Justin, thank you for bringing that up. And I wanted to get with you to remind you why, again, evidence-based leadership, why do I think that we are one of the best? This is no surprise to you. We've had our priorities, which was modeled after the university's imperatives from the president. The Student Affairs and Enrollment Management Division created priorities. And we have been organized. This is set to go through 2020. And what I'll get with the AVPs and the teams of all the directors and departments, we'll take a look at reaffirming this and making some adjustments that we need to make. But the bottom line with our priorities is that we've always had guidance, support, and direction. So translating that to a very specific level to anybody in the room to say, what is he saying? We're not making stuff up. What that means for you is that we listen to your feedback, we set our goals in our departments, we align our budgets to achieve those goals, and our programs and events and the services all are geared toward our overall priorities and directions for the division. So not just one person in a room saying, here's a great idea. What I'm really saying has always been a shared intellectual capacity of our entire division. I stopped here because I do want to note it, just with this one alone, like all the other ones, the student life team 3+ years ago came up with top 3 priorities, just spinning off of this one, what they call PAC principles. And Chris Geiger and TJ and Lisa Adams and Carrie Burns, now Dr. Wyatt with Career Services, Anne Marie, Community Standards, on and on, Stephen Whitlock, Housing Reside. When we thought about our commitment to engage students and develop the whole students, we felt we couldn't do that without fostering this community of health, wellness, and inclusion. We think that our population has a special fingerprint. And in that notoriety of our students, they're hardworking, they're determined, We don't have to argue with UGA and Georgia Tech about which students go where. We're thankful for our students that come here, but they are known for having to put in the work to get it done, to graduate from a fine university that's comprehensive. That's who we are. Well, what we notice with the student life team is it's hard to succeed if you're not healthy. Your health and well-being and mental state is a part of success. Number one came out of that group, just for this priority. Number two, we said that engagement matters. So being involved in organizations, class projects, leadership initiatives, all those things counted towards holistic development. Going to our offices, taking ownership of their learning experience, both out in and out of the classroom, was all important. And then the last priority was this transformable learning place. We've been trying to team up with career services on internships, career fairs, but it happens in academic success and advising. It happens in our focus that what we learned is that when you look at the literature and you factor the doctorate research and the data around student success, it's hard to find something that moves that needle more than students who succeed academically, succeed graduation from college. That's no surprise to us. The regression analysis and the correlation around GPA, there you go, Dr. Jordan, for a long time has been that academic success is a high contributor to student success. 2.0 at West Georgia or higher does wonders for students' progression, retention, progression, and graduation. I even dig in deeper. 2.5 and higher does wonders for West Georgia and our student population. What we're learning about the 3.5 and 3.0, sometimes they transfer, sometimes it's maybe the major's a little different. We're taking a deeper look at that. Part of our priority is our network of mutually beneficial partnerships, both internal and external. You'll hear about that this morning. We have worked well with academic affairs for many years now. Today you will learn about what we've met individually with 3 departments, and our academic affairs partners should show it a little bit and talk a little bit about, from meetings with Dr. Morero, Dr. Crafton, Dr. Lingro, and then now me, and now the 3 departments. We want to build on what we do well, and that collaboration is how do we continually improve retention and progression. And so the Registrar, academic success, and academic advising are all 3 areas you'll hear about collaboration with academic affairs and some exciting changes. The last one there is distinguished by diverse, talented staff. Well, that's you in the room. We want to continually recruit and hire you. Now, what do we look for in these next months to come? What do you need to look for in me, your interim Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, as I work with the AVPs and our directors? Well, what they've heard from me privately in our executive meeting and our extended meeting is what I'm showing to the whole division now. When I met with Dr. Lingro, he said, Xavier, there's no secret. You've been working hard. You've been doing well for many years now. Hold steady in our division. You don't have to make anything up. Here's what our national review said. Here's what we were going to focus on next. Here are 16 recommendations that were provided to our division about our direction. Part of those recommendations is what you've heard me now say. Engagement, things that you've seen now with time, building spirit and tradition, collaboration with academic success. All of that is noted in an external review where vice presidents unaffiliated with our university came and visited our campus. One is now a president since that review, and I'm so proud of her. What I will do is we'll send this out and share the electronic version with the whole division. You'll have it in your hand, the information that I think was shared with you prior. But what I want to be clear as a leader, transparently to you, is you will know where we're going. And you will know what I plan to do in supporting our division as a leader. My style is I'm going to try to communicate, and make sure that you feel comfortable with any questions that you want to ask me. My office is open, and you can come. On Fridays, I'm going to try to do is set up 30-minute windows where anybody can come in and speak with me in several days. I was going to put that in my first couple of emails, but Teresa was like, maybe you should, pace yourself. Justin's laughing. Pace yourself. But my point is, I know we can't go where we're going without me hearing your voice and about you knowing that your feedback matters and that we're all going to success. The other piece of the recommendation, they really highlighted that along the collaboration with academic affairs, the work experience piece, we need to work with the Center for Student Involvement, but we need to also highlight the programs that are coming out of that and be able to get with UCM and the marketing campaign and academic affairs and really speak to that more and more and more. So as I get to this last piece of the conversation and pause a bit to answer any questions that you may have of me, I want to make a note to share with you. We've launched pilot programs out of the work experience, and I pulled TJ and Chris Geiger to carry a big weight of it. TJ launched a pilot Elements, and Travis is back there with him, and now for a couple of years, and Mark, it has been, each year it's doubled, right, guys? And it's been a highly successful program. I think you may have seen a slide coming up when you first walked in the room. Jesse put that together. And then the Wolf Camp being the other, 2 years in a row, each year that has continued to grow and increase and sustain. But Chris Geiger's team on Org Sync, carrying the load of the involvement for all students and organizations, we now use that. I don't know if you all know, but the emails we send to students, the all student emails, goes through the Org Sync portal. We had learned a few years back that all 13,000 student email system had trouble. So our software that we now pay quite a bit thanks to the Student Affairs and Enrollment Management team really came through, and it connected emails to student. And like any communication, it's a hit or miss, right? Sometimes you just delete or check your email. But I guess I'm trying to say to y'all, the university uses what we do. We're going to try to get better and better at talking about that. With those pilots, the other piece we've been working on was tailgates. And I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, you saw me putting up tents and stuff at football games as a dean of students, and some of you laughed at me passing by. Hey, dude, you need to get your priorities. Don't you need to suspend students? No. Retention, progression, and graduation. But yes, there are some educational moments where that's the case. Well, I didn't have to do that anymore, and I never did that by myself. I want to ask the community standards team, do you mind standing up for me? Let's give them a hand. With Miss Anne-Marie Reed, who's interviewing our future attorney, they have carried the load from the exception until we handed it off with our partnership with Housing and Residence Life to get us to this point. And I have to give kind of those all-department acknowledgments to where you kind of know the history, that it's just been a small stepping process to get here. And now I want to drill in a little bit and get to kind of the individual piece. And if you don't mind, it's no secret that our tailgates doubled at the stadium. And we had those big tents that said Wolf Experience, and we used them for move-in day and football games. I want to acknowledge my thanks to Jason Brett, if you don't mind coming forward. Thanks for all that you do. And what I want to say is, while we continually try to improve on pay and salary, there are some of us that just continually jump in and say, I know the university is working it all out, but I love the school. Whatever I can do to help to advance our students' experience, I'm going to do it. Jason, thank you. You're one of them. And like many of us in the room, you just keep doing it. The award says, thank you for your exemplary service. And to me, that means literally service unseen. What you do when no one's looking. And when people can acknowledge that this really couldn't get done without people doing it. in supporting the WOOF experience at UWG for 2018. So Jason, appreciate that. Next one, I don't know if you noticed, but 2 years ago I flew 5 students to Texas. We looked at different, we also went, Alabama does a bonfire, and I don't know if y'all know that, it's pretty big too. And then we said, what can we do at West Georgia? It had been 30 years, I think I picked on Chris Geiger for us to take a look at something that magnitude, and a lot of conversation from the square, who have done great work there. Could we do something in our valley and here? And the answer was yes. And so the first year, to people's surprise, over 1,000 people came to that event. Stephen pushed them out the residence halls. And I said, Stephen, no excuse. There's 3 people that live on campus. Get them to the valley. I mean, there's 3,000 people that live on campus. Get them to the valley. And he did. And, but over 1,000 people. And then the next year, you think I would let up, but I didn't. I said, WOOF experience, homecoming, like Pack Premier, like Big Event, they're all big programs. And we even added major things in for Center for Academic Success, expanding the footprint, but we didn't let up. And the next year, instead of 1,000 people coming to homecoming bonfire, over 2,000 people came. Emily, do you mind coming forward? Can I present you with a award? And thank you for the stress that I put you through without a budget. And I'll never forget the conversation. She checked with Xavier, the event's about to happen a couple of weeks away. Do you still want a big screen? I was like, yes. And she's so nice, she said, we don't have a budget for it. I was like, I'll talk to Chris, let's make it happen. Big screen's there. Videos and pictures of our students is there. We're a university. And the last one is, you know, the pressure I put on Jason without the budget or money, and with community standards so graciously, with the revenue coming in from WOOF Camp, it helped housing and residence life pay for the WOOF experience, tailgating experience. But Stephen permitted this to happen. Stephen Whitlock, I want to present you with a thank you. And working with Jason. A lot of people pick on you about your budget and just says that you're the cash cow, but we know that's not true. And as we meet with our division, you have continually supported us through it. Come on in, Dr. Crafton and Dr. Jenks and Dr. Overfield, our academic affairs team. As we conclude at this point, I, want to acknowledge all of us for making and supporting student success within our division. But I want to remind us that our students, they're determined, they're self-regulated. You know, we want them to engage, take ownership of their learning experience. And all the meetings they have in your office with you, whether through advising or whether through registration, whether through career, whether through health and wellness, whether through counseling, which you heard me highlight about the mental well-being, or health services when we know that it's more than just your flu shot. You know, you're here, you can't be sick and go to class. The list goes on and on from housing and residence life. We need to have a quality living experience. Each and every one of your areas I can go through without me saying enough about enrollment and admissions and recruitment. We got to keep working together to drive all those things because student success is our priority, which you all know that. That's why you all are who you are. The next piece of our journey, I have promised to keep you updated about our interim changes. I talked about the Registrar. I talked about Center for Academic Success. I talked about advising. We've met each with those departments privately and have listened to questions and feedback. Our goal is to build on what we do well, what's working well. Those departments have been some of our best units supporting the progression and graduation of students and the academic success. The other best thing we do is our collaboration with academic affairs. So you're going to get a chance to hear from our team here. And with the joining of those 3 units with academic affairs, the Registrar and academic advising, and also the Center for Academic Success. And I won't steal their thunder about some excitement building with University College, and that's a big foundation. But also the Registrar's work with the Provost. I'll step aside. Let's give them a big welcome, everybody.
talk just a little bit, not much, and then I want to turn it over to my colleagues to talk about this changing structural, I guess changing structure would be the way to put it, where advising, support, and registrar moving from student affairs into academic affairs. This was a long time coming, so let me give you sort of the background and then the details of how we arrived, and then the details of where we're going. I think David and David, and any other David could comment on that. So as some of you may know, a long time ago, Melanie McClellan, who was the Vice President of Student Affairs at that time, the VPSA, hired me away from academic affairs to set up enrollment management. And so I was the very first, historically first, enrollment manager under student affairs with Melanie. And I did that job for 3 years and just sort of set the structure, you know, and then happily stepped aside to hire other people. Eventually Scott Lingrell took that position, and then he became VP SAEM. So that got me started in the role of blending academic affairs and student affairs pieces of enrollment management. From there, I went to Clayton State as Provost, and at Clayton State, all of those enrollment management functions work in academic affairs. So all of them, financial aid, admissions, all of them. And so I had that experience for 5 years with those parts. And I thought some of that was good, and some of it, you know, maybe wasn't as good as it was here. So, and the models, of course, are mixed all over the place, as you know. Same division, 2 divisions, 3 divisions, there are lots of different models. So coming back here, working with Scott and I, of course, were great partners. Not nearly so much as I am with Xavier.
I accept that.
But pretty much. We'd known each other for a long time. I was part of hiring him. So we worked our collaborations very well, but in the second year of my coming here as Provost, we had Tim Rennick come on board and do a kind of talk, and then he did workshops, and then he did kind of an analysis. And Tim Rennick is the Associate Provost for Enrollment at Georgia State, and is like nationally recognized rock star on enrollment management retention issues. It's incredible what they've done at Georgia State. And so he came here and he said, you know, I think you guys have good people, wonderful people. He said, but I think the structure is going to limit you. And he said, it's not for lack of trying, or not for lack of talent, or not for lack of anybody wanting to do. He said, but that separation, particularly advising, support, and academic affairs, is going to limit you as long as you keep that. And Scott and I talked about that, and we thought, well, you know, there may be something to it, but on the other hand, he and I always thought, well, structure alone doesn't get the job done. You know, it's the people and everything. So we didn't act on it, but we thought about it, we talked about it. Then the next piece we had come our way was Ken Harmon, who became the provost at Kennesaw and ultimately interim president for a while. And one of the things he did was to deal with a below 70% retention rate in Kennesaw by merging units into academic affairs. And they moved the retention rate from below 70 to 80 in, I think, the second year. Again, not saying that that structure alone did the job, but it seemed to make a difference. And again, it was because certain barriers had been lifted by the structural change, and the flow between faculty and advising and support and SI and so on could work a lot better. Synergy was created by that structure. And again, we thought, okay, you know, this is maybe indicating something. And then the third piece, and the final piece, I think, was a report from NACADA, those of you who know is the National Organization on Advising, came and did a consulting visit, and in their final report said, you know what you guys need to do? You guys need to move advising into an academic unit, possibly university college, which we were just in the process of creating at the time that report was created. So when that piece came, Scott and I got together and we said, you know what, maybe we need to do this. And not like all enrollment pieces, but those pieces, academic advising, academic support, academic records, those pieces into academic affairs so that that blend between faculty activities and understanding and cooperation would flow much better, and maybe even be just kind of jazzed up by virtue of the change, you know what I mean? Sometimes it almost doesn't matter what you change something to, just so you change something every now and then, you know, wake people up a little bit. Not that people are sleepy, but it just focuses you, you know, it turns you a little bit. So we decided we would do that, and we decided that, I guess, back 8 months or so before the change of Dr. Marrero occurred. And so we were talking and planning and thinking and strategizing and talked to some of you guys about it. And then, of course, the big change, the big event. So Dr. Marrero's leaving and going to Georgia Southern. Oh, and wait, Scott Lincoln is too. Okay, who else is going? So that kind of threw us off for a while. And so with those plans we had in motion, we just sort of stopped and we had to do the change, get off one train and onto another. And Xavier and I got, acquainted, started talking. And I said, well, these were in the plans. This is where we're going to go, and this is the reasoning behind it. Do you agree with that? Does that make sense to you and to your leaders? And he said he did. And so we all decided, well, let's just go. This is what we're planning to do. We think this will make a difference. And and again, as Xavier was saying on his slide, the point is student success. That's the point. If by virtue of that structural change, that organizational change, we can move our woefully low retention rate last year of 68% back up to above 70%, then we will have done a good thing, a wonderful thing for us and for our students. So that's the part I wanted to mention. Xavier, anything else? And then I want whoever wants to talk about the future structure, which is the University College creation, can do so. Or we can take questions. You want to add either of you about University College and what? Yes, that's what I'm having David do, is explain what University College is. And it's not one thing, as David will say. I mean, University College is a term that's used by lots of different schools, and it's not identical. There are different structures that are called University College. So David will talk about what ours is and how it is and how it's to be. And
thank you. The University College is relatively straightforward so far. We established it in January of this year in Gun Hall in partnership with Stephen Whitlock. We had a real interesting meeting. I think it was fall before last. It was fall 2017. Stephen and I met over in Gun Hall, and he said, this is the old advanced academy space. And I said, okay, well, this looks like we can build a university college here. And I went back to the office and ordered signage and changed some window dressing and put in a couple of WIC orders. And I met Stephen down there like 3 weeks later, and I was like, all right, the signs are coming for these doors, these doors, these doors. They're going to change the signage on that window. We're going to have to start talking about access to figure out how our folks are going to get down there. And he looked at me and he said, oh, so you meant we were really doing this? I said, yeah, we're really doing it. I said, we're planning on moving the offices down here January 1. We moved first year seminars, Ryan Bronkma's group. He's currently in the Gun Hall in A wing down in the basement there. First floor, not basement. We moved to interdisciplinary studies, and we just started a bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies. Some of you probably heard about that. We decided to put that in the University College. When we put a program in the University College, we immediately discovered that we needed to have an academic lead by policy, so we had to appoint a dean. Donna was very nice enough to tell me that. So I said, well, David Newton. And then I went back to the office and told David Newton he was the interim dean. It was a nice surprise. So basically what we started to do was build something we knew we had to have. We had to have a structure to house some of these academic units, a lot of these academic units, that we have in academic affairs that really don't have a home. We've got academic testing services, and we had the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies, and we had first-year programs, and we've got a bunch of others. And we started to look at some of the partnerships that they had, and we were talking with Micheal and Xavier, and we talked to Scott before he left, and said, how do we enhance these partnerships, and build a unit that actually just focuses primarily on student success? What does that consist of? And what we came to the conclusion of through all those discussions, and apparently these discussions have gone on years before I ever came on board, was the partnership with academic advising and academic success. And we'd already started talking about having supplemental instruction and peer mentoring in the University College. So we put it all together and we said, well, we can do this. Now, which of those units are actually going to move into Gun Hall in the University College, we don't know for sure. Probably academic support will have some presence there, but probably not have a physical location. They'll probably remain in the UCC for now. Advising was planning to move into the old infirmary after, I'm sorry, Building 9.
Yes.
The germ donut. That was my favorite. I don't remember who was that. Was that Jill Hendricks? I think so, yeah. That was my favorite nickname of that building. What we had for that building is about $1.2 million in repairs that needed to be done, and we had about $295,000. So we were basically going to dress it up, just nice enough to put folks into it. When we looked at the campus plan with facilities, we said, if we can design space that's flex space, just leave that open for now, start to clean it up, kind of like Rao Hall when it transitioned out of a residence hall. It didn't become entirely occupied immediately just because it was space that was empty. We're going to have the same thing with Gun Hall. A-Wing is going to transition over this fall, so we'll have the second and third floor. We've got about as much money as we need through year end at the university level. The VPs all met, decided to make that priority one to build the university college. So we've got about $750,000 in repairs in Gun Hall to make it a livable space for some academic units. And we've got about that much money, so we can actually make the space what it needs to be, as opposed to what we do in some circumstances, just kind of put lipstick on it and say, okay, yeah, it'll be good for now, and we'll fix the rest of the stuff later, which isn't really good. Campus planning and facilities is fantastic in this regard. In their office, they've got, over 45 years of campus planning, and just listening to them and saying, what do you think is the best thing to do in these circumstances, helps a lot. It really does. So the Building 9 will probably end up being flex space. We'll take out the stuff that we need to take out of it, anything that's hazardous, and remove those sorts of things, and then we'll have discussions, probably campus-wide, to figure out what we want to do with that space. But it'll be integrated with the campus plan as we move forward, the same with Gun Hall. Organizationally, it's a lot easier, and this is long-term stuff, but people like to focus on the facility stuff, and I enjoy it, so I like to talk about it. But short-term, nothing changes. The Center for Academic Success will be picked up budget personnel-wise and dropped into academic affairs without any changes. For the vast majority of folks, you probably won't see any change whatsoever. Advising will be the exact same way, same with the registrar. What we will do is have academic success and advising report to the University College Dean. There will be some more information about that. I don't know if Denise wants to talk about that. She's kind of putting together the University College stuff, figure out what the future of the University College is going to be. The registrar will report directly to the Provost's office, because it didn't seem appropriate for the registrar to report to a single college dean. But we'll evaluate all those things with, support from all of our stakeholders. Yay! So I suppose we can take questions. I don't know if David or Denise want to say anything. Did I miss anything?
You got a question here?
Questions? We can take questions. Yeah.
I'm just curious about registrar, because then you gave I'm sold on the others, but registrar, can you just give some rationale on why that move was made? I didn't hear that.
Academic records? Yeah. The
Okay.
registrar, academic records, whichever. The primary, tell me if I'm wrong, Donna. Primary function of the registrar is to transcribe academic credit. The majority of their work is with academic affairs. I came to this office 3 years ago and worked with the registrar basically daily on academic records, making sure we had stuff transferred in properly, all those sorts of things. And in most institutions our size, the registrar is in academic affairs because it's an academic function. The history of it's kind of interesting. I won't go into that whole story. One's like, no, please don't. But their function is basically academic, so it just made sense. Ed?
Hey, good morning, and thanks to both of you for kind of considerate and that it was collaborative along the way. I had a couple of questions. The first is that the COB report also suggested that all advising be consolidated to ensure consistency of practices. The first part of the question is, do we accept or reject that assertion? And the second part of that question would be, if we accept it, I know that sometimes you can't change everything at once, so what would the timeline look like on that?
Academic, what do you want to?
Well, to give my 2 cents on it, I mean, my thought was we have a mixed model now, some centralized and some in the deans, that part of what a bit of a quid pro quo is that if advising is fully inside academic affairs, it would be centralized as such. Now, having said that, there may be a kind of mixed model within that centralization, if you will, because I know that some parts, Georgia State is one of these, will have some parts that are very, very central and very non-college specific, and then other parts that are college specific. And so we would just sort of evolve that model, I think, is kind of how we would go about it. And talking to Melissa, who's here somewhere, I assume. Oh, okay. The main thing is making sure that the promotion structures, the development opportunities, the communication pieces are all consistent for all advisors. That's important, rather than the advisors in nursing get all of this good stuff, where the advisors in somebody else do, somewhere else do not. That's dead, for the advising board.
Yeah, the way I see it, I don't know that we accept or reject it. We accept the recommendation, but largely the advisors in nursing, business, and education report to those deans. The advising center will now be reporting to an academic dean, so they'll all be at that table. We assume at some point at that table somebody will say, hey, we should probably talk about this. If they don't, then I will. And then they'll be able to work that out amongst themselves as to how to best structure that, with the recommendations in the report and the functional processes that they have in each of those colleges.
And thanks for entertaining the second question. This is a large infusion of staff into academic affairs. And in the Division of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, one of our values is about growth and development. We put a lot of effort into developing leaders, and it's not just, oh, you get to go to a conference, but very intentional things like our Aspirant Leaders Program. In what ways is academic affairs prepared to deal with a group of staff members who have those kinds of expectations?
I'm jumping in because this was actually the topic of my Engage West rollout yesterday. We were talking specifically about having a large group of staff move into academic affairs. And one of the things that came up as a recommendation and action plan that I'm trying to articulate is how do we as academic affairs become more intentional about providing professional development opportunities to staff. Staff do have opportunities in academic affairs. We have units already in academic affairs that are entirely staffed. I oversee 2 of them. But there was a conversation about having staff be with each other within academic affairs and to participate as a group in both professional development and, frankly, fun things too, because apparently you guys all have a whole lot of fun. So they talk about that a lot. So that's actually been those conversations have already been starting, and I think the staff coming into the division will have, we're going to need those voices to determine that path. So.
That's a good point, Don. Just echo it. That was one of the things Scott and I talked about a good bit. You could say sometimes, one of the key things I do is to protect the resources for these staff and make sure that they're not overlooked, because in his worry, not in his assumption, but in his worry, is that when you're in academic affairs, faculty come first on everything. So if there's money to be given, it's going to faculty. And there is some truth to that, but there's also truth, as Denise was saying, that we have a huge staff corpus as well that we try to protect. So, it's an evolving thing, to be sure, and we
Yeah, these are great questions. In fact, in our individual meetings with the departments, these questions have come up. And I'll just be vulnerable for a second because probably in those discussions, that's where I shared, and you heard me talk this morning about bonfires and events and programming. My 25 years, a big part of my background is that. But my doctorate work in 8 years in academic affairs is on the academic success of students and the top major in engineering and other majors. So I personally shared with each of those departments that there are opportunities that come from collaboration and partnerships in academic affairs that continues to grow. So I share that now with the whole division, and many of you may have not known that about me, but I share that on personal information with you. Lastly, before we take another question, I will reiterate that I've had good conversations with Dr. Overville. I've worked now for multi-years with Dr. Newton from Deep and Momentum and our living and learning communities in the residence hall, and worked side by side with Dr. Jenks and Crafton. They are caring leaders, and I fully am confident their continued support of not only our staff, but all our community. We have time for another question before I turn it over to the committee and Jesse to give us some wrap-up words for the summer for our division in these meetings. Is there another question that you want to get out? Okay. And for any of you that may have had other questions beyond this one, within your departments, okay to talk with your department leader, and then also back to our extended leadership and executive leadership, and then back to our academic affairs team, we're going to continually talk about this. And from what I understand, I'll let you ask your question.
Simple one. I apologize if I missed it. What's the effective date?
Yeah, that was what I was about to say.
July 1st.
Yeah. So what I understand is we're working with our leaders. July 1st has been the kind of timeline that they're rolling out the collaborative switch. And back to you, Dr. Jenks.
Yeah, July 1st is just an easy break for budget, fiscal year, and everything else, personnel with contracts and all that sort of thing. And my response to the previous question, all the fun stuff, that you get to do as staff and student affairs, I don't think you have to stop doing that. I don't think they're going to quit inviting, those units or anything. It's going to be an incredibly collaborative partnership, and I think it'll only enhance the stuff that we've already been doing well, and it'll give us the opportunity to continuously improve in some of the areas where there's opportunities. So realistically, I don't think there's going to be that much of a change, but I'm pretty sure, if you want to come to an event in student affairs, I don't want to speak for Xavier, but I don't think they're going to throw you out, not let you come anymore.
Now we're talking about those things, and similar to when our president's office got a chance to work with our Center for Diversity and Inclusion, and that department expanded and got a senior diversity officer, Dr. Christina. We continued our division work with that department for a year or more in our meetings. We have talked through all of these pieces with our academic affairs team. Everybody, let's give them a big student affairs moment. Thank you. I'm excited about the good work we'll continually do, and as Jesse comes up to give us a good word for our all staff meetings and where we're headed next.
Thank you so much. I just have three to be exact, quick announcements. One, if you got here a few minutes early and you got a chance to see the slides, there was a blanket thank you for just staying engaged, choosing to be engaged in these meetings. We know that they're early, and sometimes they're more fun because we do have a lot of fun around here. And then other times they're super informational like today, but we need that information. But if you have good sense of humors like Dr. Whitaker and Jenks and Dr. Crafton, then I'm staying engaged with their sense of humors and their jokes. I enjoy those. So two, there's no all staff for June, so don't worry about that. So just a blanket reminder for that as well. I know I'm sad too. I like these things, which is why I've been on the committee for the past 2 years, which leads me to my third news, which is I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to have me on the all staff committee. With my increase in responsibilities, especially Wolfgang, I asked to go ahead and step down. It was almost time anyway, so I'm just cutting out a little early. So I wanted to announce that Will be our chair, so he's being promoted from co-captain to captain. He'll be your captain moving forward for all staff. she's advising students in Noonan for dual enrollment. She'll be his co-captain, and then of course the rest of the all staff, Melissa, Alexis, Kate. So feel free to reach out. They'll be your go-tos moving forward. So at this moment, that's all I have. Thank y'all so much.
Have a good morning, everyone, and thank you so much. You'll continue to get updates from us.